What's up, Brian Tong here, and we know that WWDC 23 is officially happening on June the 5th through the 9th, and so this is what we know so far about Apple's next developer conference. It's happening in person at Apple Park in Cupertino, and developers who did the lottery and were successfully picked have already started receiving their official invites. Now, I don't have one yet, so I'm just gonna cross my fingers for one and just hope that it magically appears. And sure, the image looks like the famous Apple Park rainbow arch from the invite, but it also looks like the edge of multiple lenses. And what has Apple been working on that might have lenses? Well, duh. The rumored mixed reality headset, with the name reportedly being the Apple Reality Pro. Or, hey, it's just a different take on the arch, and maybe I'm really reaching, but I could see that maybe Kermit the Frog might make an appearance singing the Rainbow Connection. Someday we'll find it, the Rainbow Connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. Oh, hi-ho there, Brian Tong here as Kermit the Frog here. Now, there's plenty of hardware we could see, but all signs point to the Apple mixed reality headset being the big reveal at WWDC, and the big rumored features we have heard so far is that the Apple headset will use two high-resolution 4K micro OLED displays for a total 8K resolution. That could potentially bring the clearest image on a headset that we've seen to date. There will be dozens of cameras that capture your surroundings and will enable hand tracking for you to navigate the user interface for the glasses. There will be cameras inside the headset to also detect your facial expressions, but there will be no handheld controllers needed at all to use Apple's headset. And we've seen this on other headsets like the Meta Quest 2 and others, but you still need controllers for most of the content on it. But Apple's approach could bring a full Minority Report-like experience to the headset in the Apple way, of course. Now, another differentiator, Apple's trying to make it as lightweight and as comfortable as possible, but that means it's expected to be tethered to an external battery pack that you would need to put in your pocket and will last roughly 2 hours, according to Bloomberg's Mark Gurman. Now, the renders we've seen so far from designer Ian Zelbo are based on the rough sketch and description of the headset that was reportedly seen by the information from a prototype. The back band will reportedly be similar to an Apple Watch band material, and then you got this soft mesh that will make the fit more comfortable to the front of the face. And we aren't sure if there will be a spatial audio component to the headset or not. It will not include haptic feedback on the headset like Sony's PSVR 2, but it will reportedly have a digital crown-like dial on the right-hand side to switch between the virtual world and physical world. Now, two M2 level processors are expected to be in the AR/VR headset, which would bring computing power to a wearable that we just have never seen before. XROS is the software that the headset will run on, and it's meant to stand for extended reality for both augmented and virtual reality experiences. The interface will be similar to what Apple users are used to, with an iOS and iPadOS-like feel to it, and it will reportedly be able to connect to a Mac, serving as the Mac's display with the ability for you to control the Mac with your physical keyboard and mouse. Now, Apple has given limited access to XROS and is looking to create an app store with games, video streaming content, video conferencing, and new media experiences with an all-encompassing 3D digital environment. And it sounds like there is some promise here, but we've talked about it plenty of times, and the biggest hurdle this first-time product will face is the reported $3,000 price point. Yeah, $3,000. I mean, that's not official. Hey, even if it's, what, $2,000? That's hard for any hardcore Apple fan to go for, and Apple knows this is not going to be a guaranteed knockout of the park. I mean, we're in a market that is still trying to prove itself to the mainstream with other platforms like Sony's PSVR 2, which is cutting back on production, and then based on reports. And then you got the lackluster Meta Quest Pro. That was their most advanced headset, starting at $1,500. That has not resonated with consumers. So is there genuine interest and curiosity around Apple's vision? Absolutely. But is this a long play that we'll have to develop over time to convince consumers of their vision? Absolutely. WWDC, this is where we expect the big unveil. There have been some reports that production was pushed out for later this year, and then there have been multiple reports and multiple delays around the unveiling of the headset. But Apple's annual developer conference, this just feels like the perfect time to show off their next platform, and they believe it will take them to the next place after the iPhone years from now. And yes, WWDC has always been about the software and the latest updates to the operating systems, but there's still a lot more hardware that we could see, because all signs are pointing right now to the rumored 15-inch MacBook Air to make an appearance. And that's when I start rubbing my hands together and licking my chops. That's how I do it. Because with the power efficiency, you got the battery life, you got the super quiet performance of Apple Silicon on a rumored 15.5-inch MacBook Air, that would be my dream machine that I would take traveling everywhere. Now, early reports claim we could see it launch by the summer, and a new tweet by display analyst Ross Young says with production underway, an initial April target from him, well, WWDC makes the most sense for the new 15-inch Air to be unveiled. Now, we also know that last year's WWDC was the official unveiling of the redesigned M2 MacBook Air, and it is still one of the best starting points for people looking for a laptop. Now, we know the new 15-inch Air is expected to be just a bigger version of the 13-inch, and hey, that's a good thing. It will not have a ProMotion display, the 13-inch never did, and it's still not clear whether it will come with a new M3 chip or M2 and M2 Pro chips. This new 15-inch Air would, though, fit perfectly in the lineup between the 13-inch M2 MacBook Air, which starts at $1,199, and then you got, above that, the entry-level 14-inch M2 MacBook Pro, which starts at $1,999. So just put it in there, right between them, starting at $1,499, because, let's be real, Apple wouldn't do it for $1,399 unless they do, and then boom, is there. So we're going to find out if it happens, but as long as there are no major delays, I think there's a real strong chance that we will see the 15-inch MacBook Air at WWDC. Okay, another candidate for hardware at WWDC 23. How about the all-new Mac Pro and the last Mac that Apple needs to update to their Apple Silicon lineup? Now, we've been expecting it to happen this year, but it's not clear if it's going to happen at the conference. The new Mac Pro is expected to have the same general design as before, with a modern cheese grater tower-style design. It's expected to bring an all-new M2 Ultra chip with up to a 24-core CPU and a 76-core GPU with support for at least 192 gigs of RAM, according to early reports. Also, the big question is, how upgradable will this be? Because its memory is already tied to the motherboard, and so is its GPU, which makes both of these aspects non-upgradable for users unless Apple creates some options specifically for the Mac Pro to bypass that from their chips. I don't know, that just doesn't really make any sense to do it, but we will see. And it's been reportedly expected to come by the first half of this year, so we will see if the Mac Pro makes an appearance. And another product we might see, but this one's pretty much a stretch, a refresh to the Mac Studio. Would Apple put an M2 Ultra in a Mac Studio and steal the thunder away from the Mac Pro? I don't think so, but the Mac Studio was first introduced in March last year with the M1 Ultra, and you'd think that we'd expect some type of internal upgrade a year later. Well, the issue is what would be the main differentiation between the two. Sure, you got size, but if you can't upgrade the RAM and the GPU on the Mac Studio and the Mac Pro, would it just be maybe third-party cards and more storage space that you could put into the Mac Pro? I just don't feel like there's enough differentiation for me, so we're gonna have to see, but it's not likely that we see a new Mac Studio at WWDC. And yes, I know that's a lot of hardware potentially at the conference. If we get the new Apple AR/VR headset, you get a 15-inch MacBook Air and a new Mac Pro, that would be a massive haul. And typically we get a good hour to showcase all the new operating systems before we get to the hardware. And let's not forget about the software, but you know, the reality is those details are very scarce right now, and they tend to be until right before the event. It's always easier to keep software under wraps versus hardware, obviously, but the latest reports first claimed that Apple would skip any major changes to iOS and focus on bug fixes and optimizations, with a lot of their attention really being poured into XR/OS for the Apple mixed reality headset, which makes sense. But a recent claim by Bloomberg's Mark Gurman says plans have changed and iOS will come with some nice to have and several most requested features. Again, no details have been released about them, but one of those features will reportedly be major changes to the iPhone's control center for iOS based on leaks from a Mac Rumors forum member who also was the one that revealed details about Apple's Dynamic Island before it was announced. Now, Control Center first debuted in iOS 7, so this would be its 10-year anniversary this year. A nice time for a refresh, but again, there aren't many specifics, so I welcome it, but we just don't know what will actually change. Now, watchOS 10, that's expected to be a fairly extensive upgrade for the Apple Watch, according to Mark Gurman. The Apple Watch is expected to get modest hardware upgrades, and there's been no word around the Ultra either. Hey, maybe we get a dark black or space gray color for the Apple Watch Ultra. A lot of people have been asking for that, but without any new health sensors coming out, with anything big coming out hardware-wise, I think an OS is the type of thing that will help make the Apple Watch lineup feel fresher, and watchOS 10 is expected to be significant. Now, along with iOS 17, we're obviously going to get updates with iPadOS 17, tvOS 17, watchOS 10, and macOS 14. But like I said earlier, not too much is known about the software updates, and that's a good thing, so we can actually be surprised. So there you have it. That is what we know so far about what's happening at WWDC 23. It's going to run from June 5th to June the 9th, and it will be Apple's first big in-person event for 2023, and I can't wait to see what happens. All right, everybody, that is going to do it for this video. If you like what you see, give me that thumbs up, subs up, and hit that notification bell, ding, to get all my latest videos when they drop. And if you want more of that Apple goodness, you can check out my weekly Apple Bits XL audio podcast to get the latest deep dive with all these stories and new ones every week with special guests. Thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I will see you on the next video. Peace and love.